No Sleight of Hand magic.
Welcome to No Sleight of Hand Magic. I am Ron Stone, and today I'm going to make you take an SAT exam for magicians. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. Let's start the show.
So doesn't it seem like there's a quiz out there for everything? I bet you could go online right now to figure out which type of pizza you're supposed to be. Wouldn't it then make sense that there's an exam to determine how good of a magician you really are? That's what we're going to be doing today with this deck of cards. To start things off, I'm going to go through the deck, and I'm going to grab a card that I think we might need later. I'm going to set that down right over there. Now, if you would please, go ahead and take this deck and cut it into 3 separate piles. Okay, perfect. So, we have pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. Go ahead and pick one of the piles. Pile 1, I will take pile 1. I'm going to give you piles 2 and 3. And now here's what we're going to do. We're going to flip over these top cards to determine which exams we will be taking today. So it looks like we're going to be taking the exam of the Queen, the test of the 5, and then another test of the 5. An interesting slate of exams. I can't wait to get started. Here's how this works. To start, you're going to deal down the value of cards that you see right here. So face cards are worth 10. And then you're going to place an additional card on each of the other piles. We will then flip over the top cards to determine how well you scored on the exam. A little bit into the scoring, a 2, you're not doing so great. A king, you're doing really well. You ready to get started? Okay, let's do this. We're going to start right here with the Queen. So we're going to deal out 10 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. And then we're going to take one card and place it on both of the other piles. Okay, let's flip these over and see how well you did. So you got a 9, a 6, and a 7. So pretty middle of the road. That's like a C grade territory. That's not bad. You did pretty well for your first shot. Let's go ahead and try it again with the exam of the 5. We're going to deal down 5 cards. 5, and then place an additional one on each of the other 2 piles. And now let's flip these over and see how well you did. You got a king in 8. And a 7. So that king means you did really well. I'm very impressed. A lot of people can't do that. So let's move on. I want to give it a shot now. I'm going to take the exam of the 5. I'm going to deal out 5 cards. 5. And then place one on each of the other 2 piles. And now before I reveal how well I did, I want to draw your attention back to this card right over here. Because what is the best grade you could possibly get on an exam? It's an A, right? An ace. So I don't want you to be too upset, because I have taken this exam before, and I just so happen to have aced all of the exams. That is the trick. I hope that you really enjoyed this one. I absolutely love this trick. This requires no sleight of hand whatsoever, and there's a really simple setup. If you would like to see how it's done, wait right there for the how-to walkthrough. Okay, so I have graded your exams, and you have all done exceptionally well. Don't you just love this trick? It's so cool. There are so many moving pieces that by the time you get to the end of the trick, no one is going to have any idea how you were able to pull it off. Let's get right into the setup of this trick. To start things off, you're going to need to remove the 4 aces. You're going to need 3 totally random cards and then a 5. What we're going to do is we're going to take one of the aces and we're going to put it near the bottom half of the deck, just like that. We're then going to take the other 3 aces, these 3 random cards, and a 5. And we're going to be putting this stack on top of the rest of the deck. We are now ready to begin. So, to start things off, I like to set the stage a little bit by telling the spectator that there's this exam for magicians. That's going to get them thinking about grades, tests, all of this different stuff. This is going to be so much more engaging if they are interested in what you're saying. The next step is to go ahead and remove that first setup ace. So you're going to turn the cards away from the spectator so they can't see what you're doing. You're going to go through and you're going to find that first ace, and you're going to set it face down on the table right over there. The idea is that they'll see it and then they'll forget about it. They'll be focused back on what you're doing over here. At this point, you're going to ask the spectator to cut the deck into 3 separate piles. It's important that these are roughly 3 equal piles. You don't want this top one to be too thin and to mess with our setup cards here at the top. At this point, we are going to do what's called a magician's force. You let the spectator think they're making a selection, but really you are guiding the whole process. So you're going to introduce them to piles 1, 2, and 3, and obviously we need to be controlling pile 1, which is our setup pile. So whichever pile they pick, you are ultimately going to be in control of these cards. For the performance, I said the spectator had selected pile number 1, and then I just took it for myself. If they would have said piles 2 or 3, I would have said, okay, you go ahead and take pile 2, I'll take pile 1, and then you take pile 3. Either way, in the end, you just want to be in control of this top pile. So let's separate it out just like this. And now you're going to introduce the spectator to the idea of the 3 different exams. So you'll flip over these top cards. And again, these other 2 are going to be totally random. This is obviously the one we are most concerned about. So you're going to introduce the spectator to the idea of the different exams and how the grading works, where 2s are the lower grades, the kings are the higher grades. Don't mention the aces because we want that to be a big surprise. So you're then going to introduce them to how this works, where you're going to deal down this number of cards and then place 1 card on each of the other 2 piles. And so real quick, we're just going to run through this just so we can get this pile set up at the end, because this is really the one where the most action is. So I'm going to breeze through this real quick. So what we've really just done is we've added 2 additional cards to the top of this stack. These 2 cards right here, the ones that came from these random piles. And so remember, for our initial setup, we had this 5, we had 3 random cards, and then we had our 3 aces. And so what we've really done is we've taken these 3 random cards, we've added 2 additional cards, and now we are ready to deal down the 5 from this pile. So what we're really doing here is taking those 5 cards, the 2 that came from these 2 piles, and then our setup 3 cards, we're dealing them down just like this. And now what's left at the top of the stack is the 3 aces. And so when you go through this next procedure of putting a card on top of each of these 2 piles, you're really just spreading out the aces. And so this is a genius little way to get the cards that you want on top of these other piles. So at this point, you're ready to reveal this ace right over here. And I like to do that by saying, what's the best grade you could possibly get on a test? Well, it's an A for ace. Here's what makes this reveal so impressive. What I like to do at this point is just remove these other 3 cards. It's just going to make those 4 aces sitting up here a lot more visually impressive. So you'll just remove these 3 cards and give the spectator a little speech about how you've taken this test before and you know your results are going to be good. And then you go ahead and reveal the other aces. I just love this trick so much. It's so much fun. I love performing it. It always gets great reactions. And obviously there's no sleight of hand required whatsoever. And that setup is really simple to master. So now, as always, if you would ever like to come back to this video for a reminder of how to do this trick, coming right up is the 60-second tutorial. 60-second tutorial.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and have half a second, please subscribe to the channel, smack the like button, and comment who you want to impress with this trick. And remember, it's kind of fun to do the impossible.
We're just going to set these right back over here. So initially, there were 3 random cards.